Do you like babies?
Yeah.
You love babies? He has no idea what's going on. I am currently 10.5 weeks pregnant with our third baby. It's a bit of a strange one for me because even just saying our third baby at this stage makes me feel a bit anxious. Although this will hopefully be our third baby, this is my 6th pregnancy. In between having my first son and my second, I had 3 early losses around 6 or 7 weeks. It was to do with me having low progesterone levels, which is the hormone you need to grow a baby and keep a pregnancy going. I think it all happened in the space of about 7 months, and then I conceived Rory. In all honesty, I don't feel like it's definitely happening, and I kind of need to get to the stage where we've had a scan and everything's okay before I will start kind of thinking, you know, getting that excitement and thinking this is actually happening. So I have wanted to document this pregnancy from the beginning, but this is actually the first time I felt like being in front of the camera and talking about it, just because of that fact, because I just don't feel like everything's set in stone. Even though in my head, obviously, I'm thinking it's happening, because that's what you do. As soon as you get those 2 lines on the test, you get hopeful, you think about your dates, your due dates, and you know, whatever happens, no matter how many losses you have, you always have that hope that this one will be the one. So the strange thing is that this pregnancy actually could be the first one for me that runs as smoothly as it possibly could. With Arlo, he was unplanned, so there was a lot of stress and worry there about, you know, what's going to happen to our lives, and we didn't know where we were living and just everything. It was a stressful time and I didn't enjoy that pregnancy really. In the first trimester with Rory, I was just absolutely terrified that something was going to go wrong. I was just concentrating on trying to play every day as it came, and just kind of in the back of my head always expecting that the next day I'd wake up and the worst would happen. And it wasn't until after about 14 weeks that I started to feel a bit of excitement and kind of relax and think, okay, this might be happening, because my issues were with progesterone levels. 14 weeks is when the placenta takes over completely from your body producing that hormone, so that was my safe point. It is really difficult to feel hopeful and excited in early pregnancy, especially when you have experienced loss before. I think for me, as soon as I'd experienced loss, I just assumed that it would happen again. I'm not actually sure what it feels like to have a normal early pregnancy. Is there even such a thing for anyone? I know everyone worries about it, and it is a sort of fraught time. It's a weird time because you have no other, you have no proof that anything's okay until you go to the scan at around 12 weeks. And I think that's why I've kind of, although I've not really felt like talking about my pregnancy up until now, I think that's why I feel like talking about it now, because I'm 10.5 weeks and that scan is a week and a half away. It's so close, and all I can think about now is just kind of getting to that point. I'm definitely not quite at the excitedly gushing about pregnancy stage. In my general personality, I am quite understated at the best of times, but also there's just this underlying worry. But hopefully I will get there, and even if I don't, I'm so grateful that, you know, this is happening and that we've been able to have hopefully 3 children. I think just, you know, that will never ever be taken for granted. Symptoms have been pretty intense, especially between about 6 and 9 weeks. Sam was also away at that point. He was away for 3 weeks. He was back for a couple of days in the middle, but he was, other than that, away for 3 weeks from when I was about 6.5 to 9.5 weeks. I worried about that a lot. In terms of pregnancy loss, I was worried that something was going to happen when he was away, and that was then going to become really hard for me to deal with normal life on top of whatever was happening with my body. And if I needed to go to the doctor or the hospital, juggling the children with that is really difficult. Since about 9 weeks, 9.5 weeks, my symptoms have eased off massively, which for someone who's had losses before is really quite stressful, because when I had previous losses, the symptoms disappeared before I had any bleeding. With Arlo I felt ill up until about 14 weeks, and with Rory I think it was probably till about 11 or 12. I do sometimes think I'm just worrying a bit too much, because I say it's all tailed off and then I'll have a good think about, you know, the last time I felt really ill, and there will be times that I felt tired and just definitely pregnant, but they're just not happening as frequently as they were before. So every time I realise, oh, I felt really good for a day, I then start to panic and get really quite upset about it. I think part of it is just me being a bit silly and just worrying, because that's what you do. That's part of pregnancy, isn't it? Worry. I know this one's been a bit of a strange video and you can probably tell my anxiety levels. I think it's something that it's important to acknowledge, but you know, I don't want to brush it off and feel like I'm not worried. I'm going to go with those feelings and just hope for the best. I got plenty of time.